And the one I've been really waiting for is our next guest, Phil Gruber. Phil, we've been waiting for you.
Oh,
Where have
thank
you
you.
been?
Oh, I didn't realize I had my hard hat still on. My
Well,
original NASA hard hat. Oh, Scott, don't go. Hey, Alan, how you doing?
Phil, we don't need to go into too much of our background, but I've known Phil ever since I walked by a restaurant on East 6th Street and he said, "Hey, who are you?" And then we realized there was all this metaphysical, cosmic information we had to trade back and forth. And I'm happy you're here today. And
I'm happy you're here today, too. You were the best man at my wedding, and you still are the best man in my book.
all right,
Look at all this light coming out of my head.
I know.
Oh, oh no, it's the chandelier behind me. Can everybody see me okay?
Yes, we can see you more than okay. You're okay. Phil also produces the higher consciousness events once a month. Do you want to mention that a little bit?
We'll mention that. I've been doing a lot of webinars, and I'm much more comfortable with the Zoom format now. So I've been doing webinars from here. By the way, it's in here in Singapore. It's 3:40 a.m., 3:40 in the morning. That magic time. What do they call it? That Brahma. What do they call it again? There's a special name for that. Oh yeah, Brahma Marathon.
All right,
That
people, they
special
get up
magic
and do a
time.
special meditation, right? But let's talk
Yeah.
about your work in particular, because you've really broken down the contact experience. I mean, Grant was great. Did you hear my conversation with Grant Cameron?
Absolutely. It was great seeing you and Grant. And I love just watching Costa and Scott.
Mhm.
Just really amazing, amazing conversation there. It's
But
been just incredible.
no, but go into the detailed accounts of what contact is on many, many levels of consciousness, because you presented a paper like 2 weeks ago where at first I said, what is he talking about? And then I realized how ingenious it was in how the DNA holds information of the contact so the conscious mind can receive what's been perceived by the unconscious mind. So do you want to present that today?
Sure. Ultimately, everything is about the DNA. Ultimately, everything is filtered through the DNA. Contact is always happening. Our higher selves are always in contact with us. It's to the extent that we can process, we can translate and transduce that consciousness, okay, of ourselves in the higher dimensions, in the higher harmonic universes. And it's all ultimately about the DNA. And I will tell you, for clear contact to happen, and if you want, I'd like to talk maybe a little bit later about the differences between channeling, conscious channeling, trance channeling, symbol code implantation, and telepathy, I think like we did a couple of weeks ago, because
Right.
I think a lot of this contact is coming through channeling. And for people to really understand the channeling experience, I think there's a lot of levels of detail that need to be understood. But ultimately, as you said before, everything is ultimately filtered through the DNA. DNA is like the universal translators and the transducers.
Right. I just want to do a brief introduction because I don't think I really did introduce you, because Phil Gruber, my friend, former roommate. First of all, I want to say you inspired me to go out there on the circuit and start lecturing. I said, Phil, how do you do it? And you said to me, you just open your mouth and start talking about everything you know and studied. It just starts to come through you, and it's sort of beyond the preparing and thinking. You just let yourself be a vehicle, and you inspired me to do that. So thank you. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here talking to you. But you are a metaphysician, so you look at the contact experience in terms of multiple dimensions. And when people say multiple dimensionality, there is a prerequisite for that. And that was the study of what Blavatsky and other people brought in as occult knowledge. But we don't have to call it occult anymore. It's really levels and levels of consciousness. So, but you're an occult metaphysician, basically, and you reference things through those levels of the unseen, let's just call it that. And you're a historian too, so you also left me your library. Thank you. The Fontanelli cathedral work and all that.
Yeah.
So there is a prerequisite that Phil's in touch with for studying multidimensionality. It's not just something someone invented in the last 10 years. It's been around for centuries, for eons, and now we're languaging it in terms of popular culture. So Phil, go into the study of the DNA, the activations, the metaphysical understanding
Yeah.
of who we are.
I think it's an aspect of, there's the larger disclosure movement
Yeah.
where we're getting experiencers, abductees, contactees. There's another aspect of the disclosure experience, or what we call disclosure, where we are really learning now more of the mechanics of how these things happen. We're learning more. The information is here about our true history, our purpose for being here, the purpose for our creation. And I think this contact movement and the experiencer movement, there are reasons that people are chosen for contact. There are reasons that certain people are being contacted. And contact is coming in many forms, like I said. For some people, it's channeling. It could be conscious channeling, where there is no disassociative state. In a full trance channeling, there is a full disassociative state. In true conscious channeling, there is no separate. There is no what do you call it? A disconnect.
Yeah, you're still conscious.
Telepathy.
The
Yeah, and we'll
personality is,
talk about that in a minute.
yeah.
But in terms of disclosure, the knowledge is coming in. It's always been here, but it's come through certain people that have had direct contact experience, direct physical contact experience through childhood. It's actually a hallmark of certain types of indigos that we call the type 1s and the type 2s. And I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate to this, where there have been direct physical contact with representatives of elder races, even from childhood. There is a reason that contactees, for the most part, are chosen. And as you said before, or alluded to it, as everything about the DNA, you have to be connected with certain races, basically, even to be a candidate for contact. But I want to bring it back to the DNA and bring it back to my experience a little bit, so people can have an idea of where I'm coming from.
Wait, can I
Basically,
just interrupt? Can you throw in there, when you go through it, the apparitions, the Mary apparitions that happen worldwide? Because I think they're another form of that. So go ahead. I was just wanted
no,
to throw.
exactly. I'll talk about anything you want to talk about. I'll talk about the Mary apparitions and the
Go into
visitations
what you were
now.
going to say, and then we'll throw that in
Yeah.
later.
Part of the disclosure movement is what's being disclosed now is a lot more about our true history, the true history of the human race, the human lineage, our history as angelic humans, the reason for our original creation, why the indigos have come. Contact is a multi-level, tiered, multi-leveled experience. And to understand our true history, where we come from, why we're here, what we're here to do, what our contracts are, the original purpose for our creation, we begin to understand why the Mary phenomenon, why the return of the divine feminine, the indigos, understanding the mechanics of who we are, where we come from, our true history.
Okay, give us the true history, Phil. Give it to us.
Okay, here we go. What do you call it? Buckle your seatbelts in. We're going to talk about star seeds, okay? The original human design. And this gives us the background for the contact experience, okay? The original human design itself is of extraterrestrial or angelic origin. Originally, human beings were created in what we call the fifth dimension, the second density, dimensions 4, 5, and 6. That's why it's very important. Again, as I said, as part of the disclosure movement, we're learning more about ourselves now. We're learning what makes us human and why we've come back. And most of us have chosen to come back at this time. I will tell you right now, I'll be very frank and candid with you and everybody that's listening to us right now. I believe that everyone on this call, has chosen to be here. I don't believe that all Earth humans, usually when they detach from this body, when their consciousness detaches, when they pass over, when they transition, they may go into some of the lower mid-astrals as we've come to understand it. But the reason you come back for successive cycles of incarnation is because you're forced to. If you haven't cleared X amount of your karmic miasmic blueprint or imprint, that residual karma that you haven't healed, you're anchored here. You're magnetically pulled back to the earth for cycles of incarnation. I think, Alan, we've all chosen to be here. I think we've chosen our parents. Listen, a lot of souls that start the incarnation process or start the fetal integration process, if they feel that their mother or their parents haven't done the clearing they've needed to do, they will start the fetal integration process within those first 8 cells. But then if their mothers especially haven't done enough clearing, they're going to turn back and go back to where they came from. Here on the earth, this is manifested as stillbirths, miscarriages, abortions, and yes, they are tragic events, but realize that these decisions are made on the higher levels. I want to talk about the 1111 right now because it's very, very important. I think a lot of people out there notice the 1111 on the clock, and this is very, very important to understand too. I think we were very fortunate by choosing our parents. Read the Pistis Sophia. Jesus Christ himself talks about how he chose his mother. And when we talk about the divine feminine movement, this is very, very, very important. And really raising or elevating the feminine back to her rightful place in the spiritual hierarchy. We're all Marys. We're all beloved of God. We're all beloved children. We're all very, very, very special. But here's the thing. I almost forgot what I was talking about because I'm so excited to be on this call. The Pistis Sophia, Jesus talks about how he chose his mother, how he chose Mother Mary. Bill Van Horn wants to know what happened. I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. Jesus said he scanned the world from the higher harmonics, okay? Jesus came, projected his consciousness out of a large collective, an avatar collective, maybe Sananda. Maybe Sananda, by the way, is in my way of thinking, is a large avatar collective. If someone claimed that they were channeling the whole collective known as Sananda, I think their head would explode. But Jesus, as many avatars, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, past, present, future, have chosen, will choose, they have individuated out of large collectives of what we call an avatar, which is basically a large collective of hydroplasmic liquid light. To the earth, you project your consciousness through sets of interdimensional stargates, which are really sets of black and white holes. A lot of people understand what the black hole is. It's a magnetic vortex. It's a black hole. But you just don't stop there. You go out the electrical white hole. Not unlike our chakras, stargates are simply structures of energy that you use to travel from one dimension to another or from one harmonic universe to another. You go into the magnetic black hole, out the electrical white hole, into the next black hole, out the electrical white hole. There's a path of interdimensional stargates that a lot of us took to get here. And I will tell you that I do not think that a lot of us have come here as a result of past lives. Most of us, I think, and most of us that are on this call, and most of us that are really into this work, and God bless Neil and Scott and Deborah and you for helping to bring all this information out. That's what I meant about disclosure in the beginning. What's being disclosed now is not just the experience that we've had that have brought us to this place, but actually more of this science, the spiritual arts and science that we really need to understand, Alan, to understand the true nature and function of Ascension, what Ascension really is, multi-dimensional identity integration, what stargates really are, what our true history is. Jesus scanned the earth from a higher place. He said he was looking for a virgin. Now, what does that mean? Yes, in Aramaic and Proto-Aramaic, Canaanite, virgin can mean young girl or young lady, but what the virgin really means is a creative energy female that uses her thoughts in an innocent fashion. In other words, that uses her creative energy in a state of innocence. The thoughts are devoid of any disharmonies or distortions. In other words, he was looking for a mother that didn't have any karma, That's what virginity really, really means. And our return to innocence, I think you know this, Alan, our return to innocence is returning to that state where not only we can control our thoughts. Jesus, it would not have benefited him to be born through a mother that still had residual karma or miasmic load, to be birthed into that pattern. You would have had to spend your life looking for ways to heal your karma, and that's not what we're here to do.
We'll talk about miasmic loads because a lot of people still have that and we're trying to detach from them. So please.
I believe that we're not here to heal our karma. We're here to fulfill our soul's purpose. And for most of us, I think our soul's purpose had already been fulfilled by our parents. I think we're here because of soul contracts. I think our parents may have been quote unquote soulmates. I think we're here to do much higher work. I think we're here to do here in the earth what angels are supposed to do, the work of angelics in the higher harmonics. We're here to fulfill avatar contracts. Yes, I'll get to the 1111 in a second. So it would not have profited or benefited Jesus to be born through a mother that had not resolved all of her karma. He would have been disabled in some way, may not have been to fulfill his contract here. Some people feel that the higher contract wasn't able to manifest, but he was looking for a virgin. He was looking for a woman who used her thoughts in an innocent way. In other words, a woman that did not have any karma. And our return to innocence, our rebirth now, and birthing into this new age, is to find ways not just to clear our karma, because when you clear the karma, then the path is clear to fulfill your soul's purpose. We're not here. Yes, we're here to clear our karma, but that's not why we're here. We're here to fulfill our soul contracts. We're here to learn what Ascension is really about and our true history and the reason for contact. This all goes into the same pot. But we definitely need to clear our karma. Not only that we inherit not only from our parents and generations back, but also from parallel lives, our incarnational soul family. We come in with a lot of karma that's unresolved. And just think how much healing we can do if we heal ourselves of our karma. The lesson is only there for us to acknowledge what we need to heal. If you don't have the karma, you don't need the lesson anymore. And there are very, very powerful ways to heal all residual karma in what's called the miasmic imprint. Miasms are the crystallizations of disharmonic thoughts. And those crystallizations, all thoughts will crystallize as the DNA or in the DNA. DNA is really a crystallization of thought forms, and we are the hologram projected by our thoughts, by our DNA. If you have distortions in the DNA, and I know this is what you wanted to get into, but if you have distortions in your DNA as the transducers and translators as they are, you're not going to get the information clearly, okay? You have the double helix here. You have an electrical and magnetic helix. You have 12, you have magnetic code, you have base codes, acceleration codes. We don't have to get into that now, but we will get into that in the next contact webinar.
Right.
But when the helix, the shape of the helix is distorted, you're not going to have the nucleotide base pairs. I know this is seeming going really fast, but everybody's—
No, it's okay. We'll have to watch it a couple of times. Go ahead, keep going, and get to the 1111 too.
Okay, you have the nucleotide base pairs. You know, those ladder rungs in the oh, now I'm slowing down. This is good. The ladder rungs in the DNA are hydrogen bonds. Me and Alan love this. They're hydrogen bonds, okay, where the nucleotide base pairs are. Basically, you have electrical and magnetic codes. One helix magnetic, one helix and electric, okay? Electric and magnetic, magnetic and electric, electric, magnetic, magnetic and electric. That's very, very good. But with karma, karma ultimately manifests as sort of black crystallizations in the DNA, which distorts the shape of the helix. Because a lot of the ascension process is the DNA strands coming together, helixes coming together, and DNA strands coming together, creating that fusion and that creation of this unbelievably beautiful blue photonic light that accelerates the oscillation rate, that speeds up the oscillation rate of all the particles in the body, moving us from carbon to carbon silica to liquid light to living light. It distorts the shape of the helix. So now instead of electrical and magnetic, magnetic and electric, you have magnetic and magnetic, electrical and electrical, and now the helixes can't come together. There's polarization now, okay? When the strands and the helixes and the strands are meant to come together, okay? Now, here's where it happens. The hydrogen bonds, those ladder rungs in the DNA, they're red. They present in the red spectrum. So if you want to have the true exodus, if you want to escape the bondage of Egypt or the bondage of our three-dimensional electromagnetic bodies, biological bodies, you have to do what? For the helixes to come together, there's breaks in the hydrogen bonds where the helixes come together. You have to part the Red Sea. You see, when you part the Red Sea and part the hydrogen bonds, the helixes come together, then the strands can come together, the fire codes can be released. There are levels and levels of this information that are absolutely stunning. Now, the 1111. I believe that most of us, certainly most of us on this call, have not come here because of past lives. Past lives, I think we confuse past lives with our incarnational or soul family, but I think a lot of us have come, well, I think all of us have come from the future. What a lot of people don't realize is that the higher dimensions to our perception here, what happens in the higher dimensions happens in the future. The angelics are our future selves. We are the past lives of our future selves. When angels have past life therapy, it's us they're contacting. The angels are our future. Heaven is the earth's future. Those of us that can make it here, yes, the future is paradise. Those of us that can make it here, I'll explain what happens in a second. But I think a lot of us have come from the 11th dimension. Here it is, the 1111. The 11th dimension, the 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions are what we call in harmonic universe 4. We believe in a 15-dimensional time matrix, where there are 15 dimensions. Within a time matrix, consciousness is dimensionalized, okay? Outside of a time matrix, you have non-dimensionalized cosmic consciousness. This is where the Ascended Masters are, okay? Where there are cosmic seas of non-audible vibrational sound. But when you come into light, and where light language starts, is in the 15-dimensional time matrix. You have 5 harmonic universes, each composed of 3 dimensions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14, and 15. 5 distinct but interconnected harmonic universes, each composed of 3 dimensions. The 11th dimension is in harmonic universe 4, which is 10th, 11th, and 12th dimension. These are dimensions of liquid light. They're pre-matter liquid light. It's pre-matter hydroplasmic liquid light. The true biologies, if you can call it, of the, yes, plasma. We're starting to understand, even conventional physics now is understanding what plasma is, but the dimensions where the avatars are stationed and the avatar parts of us realize that we have parts of ourselves in all these dimensions, in all these harmonic universes. The 10th, 11th, and 12th dimensions are dimensions of pre-matter hydroplasmic liquid light. The true biology of the avatars, the Christ avatars, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, is actually liquid light. Now, the 10th dimension is, this is the cradle of Lyra, by the way. The cradle of Lyra or Lyra, rockabye baby on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle of Lyra will rock. When the bough or the seal breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby, cradle and all. You see, we fall into the bottom of the tree, Alan, but we still carry the imprint of the cradle of Lyra, which is our 12-strand DNA pattern, okay? 10th dimension is Lyra Vega, which is interesting because in the movie Contact with Jodie Foster, she goes and visits the Vegans there, not to be confused with vegans. These are the Vegans. 11th dimensional Lyra is a place, a planet that used to be called Avion, A-V-E-Y-O-N. Now we know this place is Avalon. This is the true Camelot. 11th dimensional Lyra, Avion, or Avalon. And in the Bible, these dimensions are called the rivers or seas of crystal because they knew there was crystal silica. It's pure liquid silica is what it is. Now, 11th dimensional Lyra Vega. 12th dimensional, I think it's a place called Aramatena, but we don't have to get into that. I'll talk how we break the bonds in a minute. And what the most powerful healing that I know is, I think that a lot of us that see the 1111 on the clock, we started this incarnational journey not from the past, but from the future, okay? We individuated out of avatar collectives. In other words, we started from avatar collectives, and we willed our consciousness to pass through all these interdimensional stargates to get here. So that's the first 11, is Lyra, Avalon, true Camelot, okay?
The lowering of vibration was the first. So we started from ascension in a sense, and we're lowered ourselves into form from the 11th plane.
Yeah, those of us that are in this specific incarnational journey, not
Right.
from the past, we've come from the future, okay? And every time we're able to come here, we bring more of the future to bear here. We're here to bridge heaven and earth, earth's past and earth's future. Now, to get into incarnation on this planet, from wherever you've come from, higher dimensional star systems, it's important to understand that the Pleiades, Sirius, Orion, Andromeda, they exist within our three-dimensional time matrix here, our three-dimensional universe, but there are higher expressions of all these star systems. When people talk about the Pleiades, in my understanding, in my paradigm, we're talking about fifth dimension. Pleiades, fifth dimension, Sirius, sixth dimension. Contacts from the Pleiades are coming from the fifth dimension. Contacts from Sirius coming from the sixth dimension. Contacts from Arcturus, Arcturian intelligence, seventh dimension. Orion, Orionic consciousness, eighth dimension. Andromedan, ninth dimension. 10th, 11th, and 12th dimension, okay? That's coming from the Christ avatars, the Buddha, and the Bodhisattvas from the fourth harmonic universe. Remember, we cycle down from living light to liquid light. This is where light language begins, to pure etheric crystal consciousness, to semi-etheric, to carbon here. Now, I'm going really fast, I know. I'm going to slow down.
I think you're planting seeds for people to just take in, maybe not understand, but plant the seeds of these higher octave thoughts, I would say.
I think that, Neil, I think that you colluded to get me up at 3:40 in the morning. So I'd be in this exalted, elevated state now.
That's right, because I don't usually see you in this state.
That's right. Well, I don't know. We've lived together on and off.
Well, keep going, because someone asked, is there any other way?
So here we go. I want to finish the 1111.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So we've come from the 11th dimension. To get into incarnation here on the earth, we have to pass through a huge stargate at Earth's core. This huge stargate at Earth's core is called the Halls of Amenti, the Flame of Amenti, the Gates of Paradise, St. Peter's Gate, the gates of heaven. And then you have to come through one of the Earth stargates that correspond to the interdimensional stargates before you go into start the process of fetal integration. So you've come from the 11th dimension, Lyra. I'll tell you how I know this in a minute. You go from Lyra, Avion, or Avalon through all these stargates, okay? You go through the Earth's core. This is really important understanding. You go through the Earth's core where you leave an imprint of your DNA. We'll get back to this in a minute. Everything begins to make sense. Then you go through one of the stargates that correspond to the 11th dimension. The 11th dimensional stargates on this planet, in my understanding, is the Vale of Pusey in England, in the UK, where a lot of the crop circles are, and I believe a lot of the crop circles are to expedite soul transit of souls into this planet. Some maybe not, but most of them, I think as Freddie understands, they will accelerate and facilitate travel through stargates. The Vale of Pusey in England, and in Ireland, a little island called the Isle of Eye. So you go from the 11th dimension, right, Lyra, Avion, through the stargates, through the Earth's core, either through the stargates that correspond to the 11th dimension in England or Ireland, and then you start the process of fetal integration. The reason why it's so important, you pass through Earth's core, you leave an imprint of your DNA. This is what I believe our greater mission is. We have that 12-strand DNA pattern. I think enough of us now, when Jesus incarnated here, when Mary Magdalene and all the Marys and all the Christ avatars and Buddhas and Bodhisattvas incarnated on this planet, they had to pass through the Earth's core also, and that interdimensional stargate, the fields of Amenti or the gates of paradise, and they left an imprint of their DNA. When enough of us, this is why the waves of indigos have come in. All the indigos had that 12-strand pattern, at least. That 12-strand pattern is the pattern of the original human race, the original Turanusian race, the original angelic human race. When enough of the indigos, and I think enough of us have been able to birth into this world and left an imprint of our 12-strand DNA, now all incoming souls have that 12-strand DNA pattern. It's not entirely activated, Alan. It's a potential that people can activate if they know how to do it. This is why when 1111 comes on the digital clock, we're coded with that 1111. This is my best interpretation and explanation of the 1111. And now I think people understand more about going through the Earth's core and leaving an imprint of your DNA. These waves of indigos, these most recent waves, the indigos have been coming in for hundreds of years. The psychics and clairvoyants began to notice them in the 70s because they had a DNA activation level where they could perceive those colors in the first place. They called them indigos, and now I think a lot of people don't know this, why we're called indigos in the first place. Yes, the children got noticed first because of their youth, their life force. The colors are more vital, more bright. But the reason the indigos, mainly the children, had that preponderance of indigo in their auras is because they had parts of the 6th strand activated. This is one of the keys. Each DNA strand is coded to process one dimension of consciousness. This is very important to understand. So if you're getting information from the 5th and 6th and higher dimensions, you've got to clear the karmic residue, especially out of the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd DNA strands, because ultimately it's going to be channeled through those 3 lower strands. This is why, especially people that channel light language. And remember, all of you out there, everything is light language. We're more used to the channels toning or singing or chanting, and realize that angelics are very, very much like us, physiologically, biologically. Their internal organs a little bit different. Their heads are a little bit expanded this way or this way. And this is why a lot of people are getting cluster and migraine headaches, Alan, is because the cranial sutures here, they're made to separate our brains, our cranial vault, our skulls are meant to enlarge. If there's karmic residue or blocks in that natural evolutionary organic ascension process, they're not going to open and you're going to get headaches instead.
Right, because as the pituitary pineal gland expands to get more light, those skull bones have to loosen up in order to...
That's right.
But you're getting so many questions. Is this path you're explaining, Avalon, going through the Earth's core, the only way to the 11th dimension? Is it something, or is it rather the way you recommend?
No, listen, the way we came in is the way we go back. To understand the roadmap of where we started, to understand the anatomy and the structure of a time matrix, okay, and an energy matrix, helps us understand what angels are, what state, where they are in the dimensional picture, where our souls are, where the angels are, where the archangels are, where the avatars, where the rishis, what ascended masters truly are. It helps us understand who and what we are. Now, in terms of contact now, and then I'll talk about the DNA. And right away, I'll tell you, for those healers out there or healing facilitators, I think the most powerful healing in this world is the energies of forgiveness and gratitude. Forgiveness and gratitude are sentient, conscious identities, okay? When we think thoughts, see, every thought we think, read the master key, Charles Haanel. it's more useful now than it ever has been. All these teachings we've been getting, all these success programs and peak performance, ultimately, we have to control our thoughts, because all thoughts are impelled by their nature or compelled to objectify themselves. Okay.
Phil, we sort of have to wrap it up, but I mean, you're so many
Are
people.
you serious? I thought we had 40 minutes.
Well, what time did we start? Anyway.
Oh, wow. It's 4:25 already. Wow. Listen, I know
you have something coming up on Portal to Ascension. I'm just looking for that. No, there's so many unanswered questions. I just want to say to Anne, I don't think wherever we incarnate is a mistake. Wherever you incarnate is supposed. But
listen, if you can copy and paste these questions, I will do my best to answer them. If they leave their emails on the chat and you cut and copy the chat, I will do my best to answer all these questions. I know I planted some seeds here, but I will tell you, as far as healing the DNA, the karmic miasmic load in the DNA, which is caused by our improper thoughts, disharmonic thoughts, thoughts that don't honor the law of one and all that kind of stuff. Forgiveness and gratitude. Look at the Emoto crystals. The most beautiful crystals of Emoto are the ones where thoughts of forgiveness and gratitude are projected. Let me speak for one more minute. This is really important.
No, please.
Forgiveness and gratitude. Look at the light. Look at how much light it can hold and light it can radiate. Why? It's the structure of the crystal. Crystals that have no structure can't hold that consciousness, can't hold multidimensional consciousness, can't hold the love and compassion. But thoughts of forgiveness and gratitude, you see how beautiful and full of light and radiant they are. Jesus said to Magdalene, you are the effulgence of light. Why? Because if you become the living embodiment of forgiveness and gratitude, think of it, look at the Emoto crystal. Every crystal and micro crystal in your body will be able to hold and radiate that light. That's when you become a presence healer. So think of forgiveness and gratitude. It's not about blame, it's forgiving. What do you have to be a clear and open channel for grace, for the Spirit of God to move through you out into the world? And gratitude, read Wallace Wattles' The Signs of Getting Rich. Gratitude is a magnetic force that unites your brain and your solar plexus in the heart space. That's that warm feeling. That's that feeling of gratitude. Gratitude for you, gratitude for Scott, gratitude for Deborah, for Neil, for Scott, for all the people that are coming in on this. Your light language may be toning, it may be singing, it may be chanting, it may be art, it may be poetry, it may be just smiling and giving someone a reason to live another day, to give someone hope. It's as Kiara Windrider says, and he's always on our contact panels, the only thing that didn't escape from Pandora's box was hope. Hope springs eternal, forgiveness and gratitude. And and how do you forgive? Make your apology. And with forgiveness, the Pistis Sophia, Jesus said through Mary Magdalene, the soul is declared innocent of all intensifications of karma. And the Pistis Sophia that I recommend is the commentary by J.J. and Desiree Hurtak.
I always forget how incredible you are once you start talking, because like you're filtering.
I can't believe, I think time is accelerated. Whenever
we're
together.
But Neil is producing a big event for you called Visitors to a Small Planet, where you're going to do 3 hours of this type of deep downloaded information. We didn't even get to the digital contact. That is March 21st, 2020. Go to Portal to Ascension, Visitors to a Small Planet. Also, me and you, Phil, are doing in October 20th. We are doing
Dynamic Duo. It's going to be Tuesday, October 20th.
Yes. What are we doing?
At 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Contact with Higher Intelligence, Part 4. And in this Part 4, we're going to name the names. We're going to talk about the primary agendas of visitor races, the reasons for contact, how to create a contact platform for higher intelligence, and the reasons we're chosen for contact.
Okay, but how do people sign up for that Higher Intelligence Conference?
That's a really good one. I think they have to contact you or contact me. May I leave my email?
Yes, put your email in the chat. And you can contact me at
Listen, if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me. I will, all panelists and attendees. Okay,
Okay.
here it is.
Yeah,
Phil.
look for more of Phil's incredible downloaded information. It is
This is my
inspiring.
email, everybody. Listen, you're doing me a service here because if I'm not doing this, I'm binge watching Netflix or Amazon. So
Okay,
with any questions,
Phil
we're going to
Gruber
copy.
153 at Hotmail. We have to go to our next customer.
Okay,
Our
thank
next
you so
panelist.
much, Neil. Thank you so much. These are our portals to ascension. And Alan, you are the man.
Okay,
You are the man.
thank you,
I
Phil
love you. I
Gruber.
love you all. Thank you so much. I'm
Phil,
going back to sleep now.
okay, you're incredible though. People are so inspired. Just look at the chat before you go to sleep and see
Okay.
how much people want this
I will
information.
try to answer the questions, as many as I can. Leave your emails so I can answer the questions, or email me. Thank you
Okay,
so much. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.
thanks, Phil. Come back. Love to see you soon, and really keep doing the research because we need this information. You're taking us to the next dimension. So
Thank
thanks.
you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.